Hi, my name is Jason Paulino. I'm the founder and CEO of Resilient Faith Ministries and Crimson Harmony Media. My faith journey actually started in 2010, where I got saved in a network marketing business. It was actually a business leader that I highly respected, and I still do today, named Roger Sitzler, that used his business platform to share his faith, and through that I got saved. Then in 2010, I started helping a friend, Cameron Jones, now Pastor Cameron Jones, started a church in Napa called Progressive Faith. There I was kind of being groomed to be the youth pastor. So we took the kids to a youth conference up in Bethel. I was supposed to be the chaperone, right? Watching all the kids. And during one of the worship sessions, I found myself going in front of the stage, right in front of the stage, where I'm like this, and I had this amazing encounter with God, and the love that He had for me was just overflowing, and it felt like, man, He, even after all the things I've done in the past, He still loves me, and He's still going after me. And it just all came out in tears and snot. I'm basically crying on stage while they're worshiping, and I'm supposed to be the chaperone, right? So it was definitely an experience. I never felt God that way before, and I felt like everybody has to have this experience with God, right? And then they had breakout sessions for the youth pastors. That's when I learned that they actually had a school for supernatural ministry, and I never heard such a thing, right? Like, wow, there's a school to move in power with the kingdom, with God, like, because I found my faith in business, and that business leader actually used his platform to reach me. I felt like I can do the same, right? So I thought, this is my plan. I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna get this business up and running. I didn't think that ministry had any money. I figured, let me get the money aspect figured out first, get financially free, then I'll go back into ministry, right? So this is all my own thoughts. I'm not hearing from God. This is just what I'm thinking. This is the plan, right? So 2010, after that conference, I just super focused on business. Finally, in 2015, I got into financial services, and I felt finally that I have the platform that will give me that financial freedom to pursue ministry. And everybody knew me there as that guy that was building business so he can get financially free to do that, to become a pastor, right? So 2016, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Basically, by the end of that year, I felt I would be able to go to ministry school. But in October, my back started hurting. I thought I just pulled it, but my back increasingly started getting worse and worse and worse throughout the end of the year. But I was so stubborn that I had to get this goal done. There's like a timeline that I had for myself, right? By the end of the year, I'm going to ministry school. I would take several pain pills just to get out of bed. I would work like 2 days and rest a day, then work 2 days. Like it was bad. I was basically, killing myself with work. And it got to a point where when I would sneeze, electricity would shoot down my spine all the way to my toes. And then by the end of the year, I was losing my balance. By January of 2017, I was completely paralyzed from the waist down. And the doctor says, the spine specialist basically tells me, you have a tumor. This tumor fractured your spine and is pushing against your spinal cord. And that's why you're paralyzed right now. So what we're gonna have to do, your next up is emergency surgery. We're gonna have to open you up, take out as much of that tumor out as possible, and then we're gonna have to study it to see if it's cancerous, right? So when he tells me this, I'm like, okay. At the time, I thought it was all my personal development saying, I can't control anything except for my own attitude, so let's just do this, is what my attitude was, right? But now looking back at it, I can see that it was really, truly the peace of God over me. What I knew was, this wasn't it for me, right? Because the doctor's telling me, I don't think you understand, because I'm like, okay, right? He's like, I don't think you understand. This is gonna be a long road for you if you recover. You're probably not gonna walk again. And if it's cancer, we'll just have to find out if it's, how far it is, right? So I just told him, okay, well, there's nothing I can do, so let's just go into the surgery. But I knew in my heart that this wasn't it for me. Though I wasn't following God at that time, I kind of shelved Him, right? And I was actually pursuing business to, eventually pursue ministry. I knew that there was a calling in my life, that it wasn't going to end here, that I would walk again. We go into the surgery. They put 11 screws and 2 rods in my back. I'm recovering in Kaiser San Jose, and they're studying the tumor, and they're taking a long time to diagnose it. They finally tell me that they diagnosed it as stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma B. It's progressed all over my body already. But they said the good news is if you get cancer, the cancer you'd want to get is Hodgkin's lymphoma, because it's only really 9 months of, chemo treatments, and you'll be back to normal, or you'll be healed, I should say. Finally, we start doing chemo. I'm bedridden. I'm in like excruciating pain in my back the whole year. As we're doing chemo and we're taking PET scans, the spot in my back started growing again. They didn't know what to do, so they decided, okay, let's do some radiation. Radiation did not work, right? So that's when they sent me to Stanford, to the specialists out there, to see what exactly we can do, because they didn't understand what was happening. Stanford tells us, we're gonna level with you. They diagnosed you as this, but the reason why it took them so long is we really don't know what it is. And they said the only other option we have for you is a bone marrow transplant. We're gonna pull your bone marrow out, put it on ice, and then we're gonna hit you 3 days with a super, super high dose chemo to eradicate all the cancer cells. But at the same time, you're basically killing your own organs and body and all that stuff, right? We'll shove your bone marrow back in so that you can come back to life, basically. Rejuvenate and come back to life, right? And then they said, even with this, it's still a 50% chance of it working, right? So that was when it got real serious. Like, I wish I can tell you I had that peace and faith the whole time, but honestly, I was in heavy narcotics because of my back pain the whole time, so I wasn't really there. And like I said, I wasn't really following God before this. I was just pursuing business. But when this happened, it was like, okay, this is it. Like, I have to come to terms that this might be it for me, and when you think about those things, you start to think about what would you really regret, and the first thing I thought about, one of my dreams is to have a family, be married, have a family. And then immediately I thought about, I never got to ministry school. I never got to fulfill my calling in God, in my kingdom assignment, and then the thought came, wow, if this is it, my life would have been wasted. Like, I lived for nothing, really, just to make money, So that's when I kind of told God, Lord, if you heal me from this, I promise you, I'm going to fulfill my purpose and calling and ministry. And I told him, I promise you, whatever it looks like, I'd help other people pursue their purpose and calling, because it just lights up the globe in your glory. I didn't think nothing else of it, right? You're just having your own conversation. So anyways, we go into the 5 days chemo in Walnut Creek. They ran some tests while we were doing the chemo, and they found that I had tuberculosis in my lungs, my brain, and my prostate. They told us they can only treat one disease at a time, either cancer or TB. And the fact that TB is an infectious disease, we have to treat TB. So that means we're gonna halt all cancer treatments, though nothing was working, right? And they said it's gonna take up to 6 months to a year of these TB treatments for your TB to go away before we can go back into the cancer treatments. So literally, this is basically a death sentence, because none of the cancer treatments were working in the first place. Now we're stopping all cancer treatments. But the crazy thing about it is we didn't even speak about it with my sister, my mom, or, my family. We just knew everything was going to be okay, right? So July, we end up stopping all cancer treatments. I ended up going over several surgeries while I was there for the TB. In October of 2017, a few months later, I get a boil on my back, where the scar is, right? And mind you, this whole time, the whole year basically till October, I'm in excruciating pain. I'm living on a lazy boy because I can't sleep on bed, right? So we had to go check out what this boil is. So we went to the doctors, and the doctor's like touching it, is like, it looks like an infection. And it is an infection. He's like, but we have to open you up to see how deep this infection goes. If your hardware, the screws and the rods in your back are infected, we'll have to redo them, right? But we won't know until we open you up, basically. So back to San Jose specialist, right? Spine specialist. We're there. I go under the knife, and I wake up. They tell me basically we redid everything. Right, I did that it was an infection, and the infection was in my screws, in the screws and in the rods. That the reason why I was in excruciating pain the whole year is they believe it was a slow-growing infection from the beginning. Right, so that was in October. I was back in San Jose recovering away from my family. Finally, I get back home, and after I was able to recover, now that the infection was gone, I was able to actually handle the pain. And this was in October, and I was recovering. So I started being able to take physical therapy to start to learn how to walk again, right? And by February of 2018, I was walking with a cane. So that was, a miracle in itself, because it said I wouldn't walk again, right? So that was the first miracle. So, like I said, we halted all cancer treatments, and we're just focusing on the TB. The TB, most of it's going away, except for one spot in my brain that just continued to grow. And it was difficult. I couldn't communicate. Like, I couldn't have a conversation. Everything was spinning. I would watch YouTubes this close with my phone just so that I wouldn't be dizzy. The brain infection was tough. And then I had to go through a lot of different tests to see what it was. They weren't sure why it wasn't going away, right? And we're now in February. We stopped cancer treatments in July, so now we're already past 6 months. But that spot was still growing, so we couldn't go back to the cancer treatments. And also, because I had several surgeries during that time in July to get most of the TB out, my body needed to heal before we can take a PET scan to see how far the cancer progressed. So now my body healed enough, by February to take a PET scan to see, how far the cancer is. And the PET scan showed that I was cancer-free. So the crazy thing is, we felt that and knew that I was cancer-free already too, me and my family. But so it wasn't a huge surprise for us, but looking back at it, it's like there's no reason why I should have been cancer-free. The doctors were saying that those 2 high-dose chemos that I took, 2 doses of 5 days each, was what eradicated it all. I believe God can use anything. He can heal us instantly with just the word, right? He can use therapy, and he can use medicine as well. Regardless of how he did it, he healed me. He healed me. There's no two ways about it. I'm not supposed to be here. From there, the TB, the brain infection, they figured it out that it was a form of tuberculosis that just took a long time. It actually, so I started July 17 with the treatments. I didn't end till 2019 August. So it was over 2 years of treatments with the TB. But cancer-free, I'm walking today. God completely healed me from all of that. And the crazy thing about it is, if I was already healed from that time of the 2 high-dose chemos in Walnut Creek, and if I didn't get TB and I was already healed, I would have went straight into a bone marrow transplant that I wouldn't need. I would have killed my organs, all that stuff. So the TB actually stopped all that stuff. It was a blessing. Though I believe God doesn't give us disease, but he can use all things for the good, all things, and orchestrate it all. And another part of his orchestration, right? So remember, I told you, my whole purpose in building business was so that I can get finances to go pursue ministry. The enemy did not like that. He tried to wipe me out. But God, like I said, Romans 8:28, he's going to turn everything for the good for those who love him, who've been called according to his purpose. And what the enemy ended up doing is giving me a bigger voice. See, I was in financial services, and one of the things that we provided was living benefits. So in insurance, most people just know the death benefit aspect. When someone dies, the money goes to their family to take care of them, right? But the new insurance has living benefits. And while we're still alive, we can access that insurance to take care of us depending on how sick we get. And the fact that I was terminally ill, it paid out tax-free hundreds of thousands of dollars so that it would take care of me, because they were just going to give it to me anyways because I was supposed to not live. What that did, it bought my sister a whole year of her taking care of me, right? It afforded us a house that we can all live in, and I was able to wipe out all my family's debt. So we didn't have nothing to worry about when it came to finances, just focus on our faith and focus on healing. You know, a lot of times I know that, you know, when people go through these struggles, finances is another part of it that can hinder their ability to heal because of stress. You know, so here I was pursuing business and finances so I can go pursue ministry, but the enemy tries to wipe me out. But what does he do? He gives me the finances, gives me a bigger voice to share what God did for me, and now it's reaching other people.